Hello, everyone. This is Dano from Dev Device. I'm the founder and e-consulting strategist at Dev Device. And today I have a special guest on our podcast here, who is Mr. Yuval. Mr. Yuval, who is the CEO of the PlayGround. Welcome, Mr. Yuval.
Hello, nice to be here, Dano. Thank you for hosting me.
Yes, Mr. Yuval. We met somewhere on the interwebs, and I saw you're doing quite amazing things. You have been a strategic consultant for 20 over years. I mean, you are a marketing master. You have done, you just told me like how you did the Facebook live sessions during the pandemic with like thousands of viewers and followers. So you know quite a lot of stuff about building an online business and growing it. So I'm excited to hear what you're doing today, first of all.
So today I'm mostly focusing. I always have more than one thing under my hands. You know, I'm an entrepreneur and I like to do things. I like to do interesting things. I like to meet people like you and I met, and, you know, we just clicked and we started to talk. So I have a company today, which is basically it's the PlayGround, and we developed their SaaS platform that enables, let's say, SMBs and also big companies to use technology in an easy way for conferences, dealing with their suppliers, dealing with their customers, and creating special activities to collect leads, to communicate, to interact, to be more efficient, to stand out, basically, you know. And with this platform, they have the ability to actually not only have the great content, but also have the, you know, they used to say that the content is the king. Today, we're saying that the queen is basically the stability to be out there. And when everything is very expensive, you're not being able to be out there. And you have a platform like this, you can use. Now you have this game, now you have this trivia, now you have this option to collect leads, and you have an ongoing communication with all the peers that you want to discuss with. So this is one thing that I'm very focused on. And the second thing is I'm always having between 5 to 6 clients, which are, let's say, using me as a consultant, and I'm sharing my experience. It can be either an entrepreneur that can be, I have today, right now, speak, I have 21 years old guys. I want to say kids because I'm over twice their age, but they're amazing guys. They're doing wonderful things, and basically they're reaching out to me to share my experience and help them start their business. And on the other hand, I can join, like, let's say, outsourcing top management for a mid-size or even bigger size company to have my insights and deal with things. And I have a special expertise, let's say, in e-commerce and online and digital, since I've been dealing with this for over 20 years. Before it was called e-commerce, before it was called digital, before all these names, we were just doing online things.
Yeah, I put that in my bio as well. I was doing online stuff. I started in '96 doing online stuff.
Yeah.
Because then the terms and names have changed, but yeah, it always been like something. I think the denominator was that it was something on the forefront of development. So working in this area always meant that you're doing things, you're learning things which are not taught in school or uni, because they get taught like 5 years later. But I think what we have in common here, that we've always been at the forefront of what's happening and kind of exploring new territory. And I have the impression that you are doing the same thing right now.
The most important thing that I'm doing right now, I have my own social network of off-road guys that we're going out with our off-road cars, with our different Jeeps. You know, Jeep, it's like a brand name, but we're going off-road. For example, this coming weekend, I'm going off-road up north here in Israel for 2 days in the woods. And, you know, this is, I think, the most interesting thing, because I'm meeting their people from south to the north, different people. They can be lawyers, they can be, I don't know, hard worker people that they have their own shops, or they can be consultant, and they meet on one common ground. They like to be outdoor, and they're good people.
This really, I mean, maybe we should tell our listeners here that you are in Israel right now. You're in Tel Aviv. All right.
Yeah.
I think that's an important piece of information we missed out in the introduction. I am in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and I have a very similar thing going, except that we don't drive four wheels, we drive bikes, motorbikes, like big bikes. And this is what I love to do on a weekend. So it's a bit of a similar setting, unless you're on four wheels and we're on two wheels. And yeah, it's people who love the challenge of riding, of speed. And yeah, they're good guys. So we have a similar hobby there.
Yeah, I agree. I'm doing two wheels as well, by the way.
Oh yeah, what are you riding?
I'm riding a KTM Adventure 890.
Oh, okay. Oh well, that's a big bike, man. Yeah, I have a Ducati Monster 800. So yeah, we are kind of in the same category here. Yeah, let's see. Maybe one day we can ride together. That'll be cool.
I'll be happy to.
So, if I understand correctly, you are like a coach for young entrepreneurs and also for seasoned, medium, big size enterprises. So you're doing all this coaching stuff, and people love to hear your opinion, your advice, because you have done all this stuff and you know how to help them. At the same time, you're building this PlayGround platform, which I need to understand it better maybe, but I think I get the gist of it. It's about building your network and staying in touch with your following, right?
Not exactly. First, about the consulting. I'm not a coach. This is a downgrade, I think, to call it the coaching, because I'm trying to be with my guys very down to earth. I'm trying to be, coaching is a very general world today, and everybody is using it. Be coaching. I'm not a coacher. There are some people that are getting from me maybe things that are getting also from a coacher, but for me, at the end of the day, they're having like something really, let's say, very real to work with. I'm like building with them the business or helping them to do something real. There are some people that through this process, they actually got from me, I'm getting comments from them saying like, the first time in 10 years, someone actually managed to move me and make me do something with myself. But it's not out of coaching. It's very more to be like, since all over the years, over the last 25 years, I've been owning also my own business all the time. I had different businesses along the way. We'll discuss it later. Then I'm coming with the real sense of, let's say, of understanding of what they're going through. I've been an entrepreneur maybe 7 or 8 times. I'm inventing myself every time and again. So it's very, and on the PlayGround, the most important thing is it's not a social network. It's like a platform. Like you have platforms today that you can build websites. So now you have a platform that if you have now a conference that you're going to and you have a booth there, and you want something interesting to run on the screens there or some activity to collect leads, you can drag and drop and build your own activity. So this way, you're going, for example, I just had 2 or 3 conferences in the last 2 weeks here with very big companies that came from abroad. And what they did, they used our activities to actually collect leads here and communicate with people, with their customers, with the suppliers, with whoever is interested in these companies. So this is what it's doing.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds quite innovative. So it's not something that I have a reference. So it's something quite new that you're bringing to the picture here, right? This conference activity building thing. Yeah. That could be a topic for another podcast altogether to understand this in depth. But today it's all about you, Yuval. It's not about business. I mean, business is part of you, obviously. We're entrepreneurs, so there's no us without business. But I would like to know the person who has done all this. And I would like to meet, the young Yuval, like the 10-year-old guy, and what was going on in his life and his mind, and what were his dreams and aspirations.
So as I told you before, when we had our small chat before, is I grew up, my father was an army person, so we moved around a lot. At the age of 10, I think I already had 2 or 3 schools that I moved in between.
Mm-hmm.
It was only elementary school, and I already had 3. So, you're becoming, let's say, maybe immune in some way. You're always, maybe it helped me become who I am today, which I can communicate with people. I'm not afraid to fly alone somewhere and be for 2 weeks alone somewhere. I can sit in a coffee place on my own, and I can talk with people, and I can find myself talking with people that I never met before. Like I told you before, about the off-road things, that people are just joining and having fun.
Yeah.
So and at this age that we're talking about, I was living in Jerusalem because my father was serving close. So it's in Israel, it's like a big distance. It's like only 50K, but for Israel, it's like a big difference. You're living in Jerusalem or you're living in Tel Aviv. It's like a different country.
Yeah. Tel Aviv is by the sea, right? It's by the beach, and Jerusalem is
Jerusalem is up in the mountains, and they have, in Jerusalem you have, let's say, all the ancient history there, and the Muslims and the Christians and the Jews. And I was living very close to the old city, so we were walking by as kids into the old city, getting all the, let's say, the smells and the senses, and meeting different people. I think this was the age also that I started to play basketball. I played basketball for almost maybe 15 years. At the peak, I was playing on the National League here. It was very nice. And I played.
So you're a professional basketball player.
Let's say yes. I ended my career very early. Probably I wasn't good enough, but and also I got injured. But on the other hand, I think this is what also another part, that when you're doing sports in a competitive way and professional way for such a long time, since you're very young, you're getting, let's say, different way of looking at life, of things that you're going to do, of hopes and dreams and accomplishing them. For some people it will sound maybe sad, but as I'm telling many people, I don't have dreams. I'm actually accomplishing them. If I have something that I want to do, I'm actually doing it, And it's not about, let's say, buy a Ferrari now for $1 million. That's maybe a dream that I can't afford, or I don't want to, or it doesn't matter. But it's something else, on the small day-to-day things that we're doing. I don't have dreams. I'm actually doing them. Okay. So this is how I think everything came together since the age that you're talking about, playing basketball, moving along between different cities and schools, meeting different people. My parents, my mother grew up in a farm, and my father is from the city. So my grandparents, who's passed away about 25 years ago, they used to live in the farm while we were wandering around the country. But for me, every vacation, every spring vacation, every winter vacation or whatever, we were going there, and I was absorbing, let's say, the farm atmosphere. So the love of nature. And, I just had a woman that I went out with a couple of weeks ago, and she said, "You're so informal in a way." So I told her it's a bunch of things, and one of them started back there in the farm when I used to walk barefoot. And I much like better to go barefoot rather than all wrapped up.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah, that I see a lot of things we have in common here. Yeah, first of all, the weekend rides we discussed earlier, walking barefoot. Trust me, I love walking barefoot, and I love walking barefoot in the rain. When I walk my dog, especially, So, that's something I love. But people look at me like I'm some kind of alien, because for some reason, people think it's dangerous to walk barefoot outside. They think you get sick when rain hits your head or your body for some reason. So walking barefoot in the rain is like a triple no-go for everyone, and I find it very amusing because I love to do it. But yeah, maybe I also have this farm background, and yeah, we didn't have shoes back in the day, so walking barefoot was like one of the things we just did, you know. Yeah, and another thing, I've spoken to so many entrepreneurs, and I don't think I spoke to anyone that didn't have a migration background somehow. It seems to be really like a common thing that entrepreneurs were moving around in their teenage time. I mean, yeah. So again, you've been moving around because your father was at the military. We were moving around for other reasons, but it seems to be one common ground thingy for entrepreneurs that they have done this. Yeah, they've been breaking boundaries and experienced new cultures and have lost like their kind of home or their friends and had to make new friends. So I think this is an essential experience. So it seems to me. But yeah, so you were a basketball player. That was maybe in your later teens, and you finished school at some point. Then what happened? What was your first time after finishing school?
Here in Israel, it's mandatory. We're going to the army. So I went to the army for 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I went to the army for 3 years, and that's another thing that, create you like a more initiative person. Here in the army, we're being taught to think and to think on your own and do things, even if you're like a lower level soldier, but and you don't have a higher rank, but you still always learn how to think and how to do things on your own. And after 3 years doing different things, you also have like, let's say, a different perspective of life because of things that you saw during the military service. Mm-hmm. And also afterwards, you're continuing to do the reserve here I did it for another 20 years or so, even more. So, at the end of the day, you have like a 25 years of experience, kind of an experience in the military, and it gives you a perspective. So when I went out of the military, and I think that about 3 years later, I went to the university, I came with with an understanding that whatever it is, it's not that horrific, because life has been having much more than that, so so after the military, I think it was about 3 years that I worked and traveled a little bit, and then I went to the university. I did my first degree, my bachelor degree in economics, and then I did my MBA, all in the same university. We had fun there. It was one of the greatest times, really.
Oh.
Yeah, of course. What's bad, You're going to the university, lots of pretty girls, lots of pretty guys and nice guys, parties, I remember, you're talking about whatever made me who I am today. So one of the things is that when you're going into economics here, so on the first year, you have one test at the end of the year that basically 2/3 of the people are failing and need to do the year again. So for me, it was the first time to face a failure because I was a good student. Back in school, I never had any fails in school, any test that I failed or something. And all of a sudden, I went to the board. Today, everyone are getting it through the computer. We went to the board to see the score, and I saw that I got, I'm embarrassed to say, I think it was 28 or something like that on this test. And I looked at it, and then I heard it was also with a 15 factor, which means I got 14. So it was like, it was embarrassing. So I did two things. One, I signed up for the second date to get another test. And the other thing is basically I look for another university just to move along.
So that was a kind of a big failure kind of thing when you didn't pass the test and you had to kind of redo your first year?
Yeah, no, I didn't redo it. I just redo the test and eventually I passed and I was there. But as a back plan, as a B plan, I was already registered for another university to move on.
Oh, okay. As a
You know,
backup.
it's like, you're going in through a wall. Okay, so I'm moving around the wall. I don't care. You know, it's just an obstacle, not more than that.
Yeah.
And this is how I deal with things today. You know, I know it's I don't know, maybe arrogant to say, and I know that in times I also feel stressed sometimes from different things. But at the end of the day, when you're calming down for a second and you're looking at it, so it's another obstacle. Let's see how we're either solving it or moving around. You know, just a few minutes before our call right now, I got a phone call from one of my girls, and she was all stressed out because something that's going to happen in the summer, and it didn't work out as she wanted. And I was trying to solve it, but she was still ventilating. So she just needed to ventilate. But after she calmed down, she's very similar to me. She called me again and she said, okay, so I'm going to call this one and that one, and we'll find a solution. This is how I'm trying to teach her to live.
Yeah, to be calm. Yeah, I think this only comes with experience, with many years of experience and facing a lot of funny things and obstacles. And I would use other words if it wasn't a public podcast, but yeah. But I think, yeah, this is maybe something like wisdom when we learn to keep calm when shit hits the fan. And I guess you have mastered this art of just staying calm and just looking for the solution and not getting excited and getting like freaking out, which is what kids do. Yeah.
I think that I don't get excited today on big successes, and I don't get excited on big failures, even though it's stressing sometimes and it's moving and it's like maybe shaking you in a way, but I'm continuing and just moving to the next stage. I made, let's say, out of the maybe 7-8 companies that I founded and activities, in some of them we actually managed to make a lot of money, and in some of them we lost money. And it's part of the game of being an entrepreneur. Maybe it's like there is a book that is called The Spirit of an Entrepreneur, which I read, and basically they say there, I don't remember who wrote it, but you need to have like the special spirit and like understanding of what you're going into in order to become an entrepreneur. And I'm meeting someone that used to work for 20 years in a big company, and he's telling me, I'm an entrepreneur. I always did all the new stuff in this company. So I'm telling him, you're not an entrepreneur. You're a person that initiative things. Okay, you always have the back of this company. You have the money there. You have your salary. It's not the same.
No, I think if you have a salary, you cannot call yourself entrepreneur. No, there's no way, because that is the big thing, because we don't have a salary. So if we don't make money, yeah, too bad. So there's no backup. And so, yeah, that's the big difference. And it can be very scary, but it also is a very good training, because I think if you master this unsecurity or insecurity or just this lack of security, you also get to the stage of freedom. And I also very much agree. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. I'm saying that
I agree also with the calm thingy. When you said nowadays you stay calm whether like it's bad or it's great. We can just there's this level of calmness, and I think that is, to me, that is much more desirable to achieve than being happy and excited and then on the other hand, you be depressed and lost and all that. So I like Bruce Lee saying that calmness is a superpower. And I think it's really important to achieve the state where we can just stay calm,
Yeah. I'm saying that being patient is the biggest happiness you can have.
Being patient is the biggest happiness you can have. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
I
agree. Yeah, being patient. It's not exactly the definition of happiness, because like happiness is like excited, something nice happens.
It's like something inside you, like if you're patient and you're like kind of maybe looking on the world in very calm eyes, which I'm not always. in order to be an entrepreneur, you need to be alive also and push. And I'm doing that as well. You know, don't get the impression that I'm all cozy and lovey-dovey, but but you know, you need to find, if you find a way, you know, and from the, let's say from my age today, looking back, I can say that there are many things that I'm looking at. For example, I had a customer this week that I told her we don't need to. There were two customers. One of them I didn't accept to work with me because I told her I don't want to work with you. You'll never be happy in what we're doing together, and I already see it, and I can see it in advance. And the other one, we reached to a point which I saw that I cannot help her anymore. And you know, I have the integrity and also the experience to tell her from here on you need this kind of person, and I also helped her to find the next person that will help her, and I moved aside. So it's like, you know, it's something that comes with experience, and this is the calm that I'm talking about. Being calm, it's not about only always being calm, but about taking rational decisions and understanding your place in maybe in the universe.
Wow. Well, that's a big one. Your place in the universe some more. Yeah, to understand that place, I think that takes a lot of experience and learnings and wisdom. But yeah, I appreciate you being sincere. So it's not all about just chasing money and stuff. It's about finding your purpose, and it's a different level of being authentic and having purpose rather than just running after things and responding to external triggers and sensations. Yeah, I love that. So what are you doing after when you finished all your studies? So at some point you started your first business, right? What was that?
No, it wasn't my first business. When I finished my first degree, I was accepted to a special program in one of the biggest banks here in Israel, maybe the biggest one. And after 6 months, I was managing already a department of 40 people. I was there only for 2 years because after 2 years, I got bored in a way. You know, I was trying to do things and new things and move things. And it's a bank, you know. People were looking at me, what do you want from us? You know, I have a funny story from there to understand the type of people that were working there back then. I don't know what's going on today. But one day I came and all the department were sitting like this with their hands. And I said, what happened? Why aren't you working? And they said, no, the computers are off. And apparently the cleaning lady during the evening just turned off the screens. So for them, everything was shut down. And I went one by one and I just turned on the screens. That's the only thing that happened there, you know. So, so real story.
Sound like a bunch of monkeys. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's I'm talking with you. It was, I think, 2007 or something like that. You know, when computers were very new and people, you know, we had like this DOS thing with everything with the screen, with the green screens and everything. So I was there for about 2 years, and then one of my professors in the MBA, they just founded a new consulting company, and he offered me to become an analyst. And as a good boy, I was looking at it, and my parents, you know, they've been working for 40 years in the same place, in the army, and this and that. And I was already working in the bank, you know, as a manager, and I came. And I asked, what is an analyst? And no one knew what to tell me. So I talked with some friends and they told me, listen, it sounds cool. So I just moved to become an analyst. I worked there for about another 2 years. And I did it took me about 6 months to have the highest salary there and do all the big projects there. And I got bored again. And also I got cocky because I said, I'm making so much money for my employers, so why shouldn't I do it for myself? So I quit it, and I woke up the next morning, got dressed up, moved to my desk, and I had nothing to do. I had no clients, no money, nothing. You know, it was like, okay, so what am I doing today? So it was about maybe 6-7 months that I was waking up, making phone calls to people that I knew. And all of a sudden, it was shocking for me that when I was calling back then from the firm that I was working for, that was a known firm, everybody were taking my calls. When I was calling as Yuval, the young person that works from his home, no one actually, not no one, but most people like just, I was just an amuse for them. You know, they were talking with me, but nothing happened. It was the first time to become an entrepreneur, you know, by launching my, let's say, consulting business. And I started to do very small things like, and I did it all mostly by picking up people. It sounds bad, but I was picking up people in a bar in Tel Aviv, which was foreigners that came to do business, and I was sitting there and trying to fish them. You know, I was like going to fish there. This is what I was doing.
In the bar. Wow,
yeah, in the bar,
that is a very interesting acquisition method. Yeah, they don't teach this nowadays. Like go in a bar and pick up people there.
So I went to the bar to pick up people, and you know, and I did my first few jobs, like for the duty free in Hong Kong, and this guy had a few duty frees around the world, so I did a few more. I did some consulting in Romania. You know, until then I couldn't find work in Israel, and all of a sudden I was doing work in different places. And I remember until then I was sitting with friends, and everybody were working in different firms, and you know, I think I didn't allow myself even to order at the table even Coke to drink. You know, I was like stressed. Okay, how I'm going to pay my rent, what to do in the next day, and so on. But eventually things sorted out, and one of the reasons, by the way, that I took this decision is I knew that I have my parents, and if needed, I will fall back home. And you know, I didn't have kids, I wasn't married, so it was easier to do. It's easier to do than maybe someone with a family and everything and all the responsibility. So I did it, and it took me a while. And then I started what actually became like a method in the next 20 years is I met another person that came to me for consultant, and I saw what he was doing, and he needed a manager there because he was the entrepreneur. He knew what to do. He was technological, but he didn't know much about managing. Not that I knew that much, but I was, let's say, from the right directive. So I joined there. In this company, I raised the first capital there of $100,000 for this company, and then I raised another $6 million for this company. And at the peak, we had there about 100 employees when I was at the age of maybe 32 or something like that. But we were doing things that were very, very, let's say, innovative and premature. And eventually the company was closed. It was like for me, it was a failure, but if you look back, it was a huge success. You know, I took a company, I had 100 people, I raised money, I learned how to manage people. I worked with all the top people here in Israel. What we did basically was back then, we started to do advertising on screens, on buses, taxis, and malls and stuff. But we started to do it in 2003, when all the infrastructure, all the screens and everything was very expensive. They were very expensive. And we created, I think, maybe the first online advertising network here in Israel. I had many net sticks, what we call today net sticks. Back then, they were like cellular modems. And we were doing online, we developed an online network. So we invested a lot in infrastructure. We burned a lot of money there. And then the advertising agencies were looking at us, and you know, they preferred to put their money back then in the TV, in the newspapers, in the radio, which were bankers, and it was very difficult. And eventually, after about 6-7 years, this company was closed, and I moved on. But it was my first experience, that actually came out of being a consultant to someone. I think that along the way, most of the things that I did, I'm not, let's say, I must admit, I'm not very much of I'm a dreamer, but I don't know how to invent things. I know how to tag along and execute. Okay, so I'm like a late bloomer with these things. Okay, and the second thing that I moved to was also coming out of a consultant that I did, because I was working. I'm still working, by the way, for over 20 years. I'm working with the company of the university which I learned at, which it's like a mini venture capital that I'm doing for them, the go no go investments evaluations. And back then, right after I closed the company which I just told you about, I met a guy. It was, I think, 2006, and I met there a guy, a young Russian developer, and he said, "Listen, a new phone is going to go out, iPhone, and there is a platform already for developers, and we want to develop games, and we want to do this, and we want to do that." And I didn't know nothing about it. So, but he needed an investment. So a friend of mine and myself, we gave him the investment, the first investment. And so we started to have iPhones and stuff before anyone else in the world had it. We were developers and we started to develop games and applications. Of course, the money ran out very fast without reaching anywhere. So we had to actually, dive in, my friend and myself, and we actually became active in the company. And okay, we were thinking what to do. It didn't work as it was planned, And what we did is, the friend which I joined forces with and invested with me is a bit older than me, and apparently 15 years before he created kind of an online casino in Brazil. So what we did, we took his algorithms and we created new interfaces, and we launched a poker game which was Funny Money on Apple. And at the peak, we had 1 million players there.
What?
Yeah, it was really fun. And I had people from all around the world playing our games. And we started with bots, I launched the game and no one was there to play. So we had bots that used to play with them. And it was Funny Money. And at the peak, we had 1 million players, and we had tournaments that we arranged in Vegas, that our players were meeting in Vegas to play. It was amazing. It was really fun. This company was running for, I don't know, also again, 7-8 years. During this time, in 2008, we had a group of investors that actually came and wanted to become a partner, and they had a lot of dreams about this company. So we got the down payment, and we had everything signed up. And if you remember what happened in 2008, I think we're close in age in a way, so you probably remember. So in 2008, all the money ran away. So I was left with a few $100,000 that came in, and all the rest of the money fade away. And I was supposed, myself and my partner, we were supposed to go out to continue and manage the company, but to get a few $1 million each one of us for our equity. And nothing happened. They just went away. So, they disappeared. They stopped answering our calls and disappeared. So continue to manage this company, and eventually we got an investment from maybe a year later or something like that, from 2 private investors from Australia, and they invested there a few $1 million. And we continued to run this company. It became a successful company, and at some point we sold this activity, and whoever bought it ruined it in a way, because they were trying to chase this. Apparently what happened eventually is that the poker game became secondary, and they were trying to chase another big company, never mind the name right now, that they were frustrated that they didn't give them the seed money, so they're trying to chase them using our company. And eventually this company was closed as well, but we were already out and weren't there. So yeah, those were fun times, you know. Back then, during those days, I had my twins. I got married and my twins were born. And the best time of my life was when they were 4 months old, and I went to a conference in Spain, in Barcelona. So I managed to sleep for a whole week. That was the best time of my life.
The best time of your life was to be able to sleep for a week. Wow.
Listen, you know, we went to a conference in Barcelona that we used to go there every year. And I went there with two colleagues of mine, and they were like, you know, there are parties, there are bars, and I said, you can go wherever you want. I'm going to sleep.
Let me guess, having young twins doesn't let you sleep a lot. Is that true?
Yeah. According to my ex-wife, they didn't sleep until the age of 7. I stopped waking up at the age of 2. I said, it's enough. She can continue. I'm out. So I'm joking, but, you know, it was really hard. Yeah. It wasn't like, you know, but the difference between men and women, by the way, is that we wake up, we do our thing with the kids and going back to sleep very easily. But when the wife is waking up, she's not going back to sleep, and she's annoyed in the morning that you didn't sleep all night. So it's worth a while. As an advice for the younger people, wake up on your own so you won't have an upset wife in the morning.
There you go. There's some piece of advice already. Unexpected one, but yeah, still very valuable. Yeah, so you were playing really high stake games, huh? It's I mean, poker game. I mean, to me, this poker game kind of is kind of the main theme here. So you were venturing into new areas, working with investors, facing all kind of adversities, financial crisis breaking down on you, people doing random stuff. So you had your fair share of experience with all the things that can go wrong, and you also had your fair share of success. So it sounds like a really wild ride you had in your early years of being in business.
Yeah, it's not only the early years. It's, you know, being an entrepreneur is all about, you know, being ready for, you know, you're like in the sea, and sometimes the waves are coming, and sometimes the sea is very quiet, and like, you know, but it's not only being an entrepreneur, being your own, let's say, managing your own business. And so when you're having a lot of employees, then you're facing, you know, you have the salaries, you have the responsibility for people, you have the suppliers, you have the customers, you have all these people that eventually they're pointing their fingers to you, you know, as the owner, as the manager, as whatever. And it's a whole different life than being an employee. You know, my ex-wife that we just got a divorce 2 years ago, we've been together for 20 years, and every time in Israel, we're Jewish, and there are a lot of holidays. You know, you have many days of holidays. So every year, you could see the difference between being an employee and being an employer. Because when I was looking at the holidays here and they were ruining my month, and I said, wow, very bad thing. And she was looking and saying, wow, I have a holiday. So fun. Let's have fun right now. Okay.
That's I can relate to that. Yeah, it's been a few times when I came to the office and I was the only person. I was thinking, what's going on? Where's my team? And then I found out, oh, it's another holiday, and I started hating all these public holidays because, you know, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, it's not in your favor, you know, when your team suddenly goes missing just because there's some holiday, you know, it doesn't help. But yeah, that's And yeah, but it also shows very clearly the different perspective of being an employee or being the business owner or the guy in charge.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And Malaysia, by the way, I think is the country with the most holidays on the planet, because they have Muslims, they have Indians, they have Chinese, and they have also some Western people. So they tend to celebrate the holidays of all the religions on the planet, almost. And then there's some special holidays, like, some royalties, holidays, birthdays, and this. So, yeah, I think not a single week goes by in Malaysia, by the way, without a holiday. Like today, by the way, is a holiday. I'm not sure which one it is, but it's a holiday, yeah.
Okay.
Like all the time. But yeah, that's just on a side note. Yeah, man.
Listen, this is part of working. The world, as I see it, became very flat, and we communicate with everyone. And I have employees today from Romania, from Polish, from Poland, from the Ukraine, and I remember from Bangladesh. So I have employees from different places, and each time, on one hand, you're facing, let's say, the challenges of holidays and cultures and stuff. But on the other hand, one of the things that happened right after I finished the thing, whatever I had with the company, with the poker game, the mobile company, is that I started to work abroad. And all of a sudden I understood that when you're selling to the world, you work in 365, 24 hours a day, and you don't care. So now I have a holiday in Israel, so I'm selling in the UK. I'm selling in the UK. Now they have a holiday, I'm selling in the US. It doesn't matter, we're selling all the time. So the world became very flat, and I've been managing teams for the last almost, I think, 10 years or more, from Romania, India, Ukraine, Poland, and other places. And they're working as a team together.
Yeah, globalization. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I just earlier today I spoke with a guy who does this global recruitment for companies, and so yeah, it's a big thing to be able to. I don't call them employees. To me, these are team members. These are team members who can come from wherever on the planet, and if it's a good fit, then we can work together. And yes, it does equalize all these different time zones and holidays and whatnot. So there's always a working day somewhere on the planet.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. That was very interesting, Yuval. Or it's Yuval, right? The accent
right.
on the second. Yuval. Yeah. Yuval. Man, thank you so much for sharing all this experience and all these tons of things that you have done in your life. I think there's been a lot of lessons to learn. And as a closing statement, I would invite you to share whatever piece of wisdom you feel like sharing with the audience as a summary for someone who maybe would like to go into business now and who doesn't quite know where to start. So what would be your best advice for someone who wants to start his own business today?
I think that the main thing is that there isn't a right way, but there is a way to go. There is a path, and you need to start and go through the path. And whatever introduction you're going through, and you're meeting, I believe in the, let's say, in the revolving doors. You can choose any door. There isn't a right answer, but you need to have a plan, and every plan is a basic to something to start with. You can change it along the way. You can evaluate your mistakes and successes, but you need to move on. I never, it sounds very arrogant what I'm going to say now, but if you look at it in a different way, it's not arrogant. I'm never making bad choices because I know how to evaluate them in the past, but when I took them, they were the best choices that I could take. Okay. So even if I bought something very expensive, I'm not going to sit and cry, oh, I bought it very expensive. I bought it because this was the information that I had under my hand to buy it. Okay. And people tend to regret, to be sorry about things that they did in the past. Don't be. Just look ahead, learn from your not mistakes, but miscalculations, correct your way, and move along. I think that's the best advice for anyone that's going to start. You know, of course, you need to know your business, you need to know your audience, you need to know your. But this is like I'm telling everyone can do it. You know, you and I can start a business right now of, I don't know, clothing, and we have the same knowledge of understanding of clothing, of the, let's say, the clothing market. But I can take a path and you can take another one, and we can both be successful, or one can be very successful and the other one can be a failure. But at least you have a road to go through. And if you have enough confidence in yourself, then go out to the road and remember there are no real mistakes. There are miscalculations that can be corrected.
Yeah, it resonates with one of these remarkable words of someone who says there's no failure, there's only success and lessons to be learned. So we either learn or we succeed, and I think that's a very important mindset to have, or to keep this, to focus on the solution, to look at failures as lessons and things that we have learned of things, maybe how not to do stuff and what not to do. But it's part of the game. It's unavoidable. So there's no walk in the park kind of plan. There was always going to be tough times and things we have to figure out. Yeah, I think that was very good advice, Mr. Yuval. I appreciate so much your time with me here. It was great to get to know you and to learn what you did in your business life, which was a lot. And I've learned a lot, and I think it was very inspiring for all the listeners who were here. So thanks a lot for joining me. And let's see what comes along the way. I hope we can stay in touch and do something else together, maybe. Let's see.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. And remember, we just got to 2009. I still have another 15 years for you.
Okay, so there will be episode 2, man. Definitely. Yeah, there will be episode 2. Yeah. Looking forward to that one. All right.
Okay,
Have
cool.
a good day.
Great. You too. Thank you.